So today we are fortunate to have Serge Alphonse with us. Serge Alphonse, MSCIT, Six Sigma Black Belt, Lean Sensei, PMP, ProSci certified, mediator, and pilot, has accumulated vast business and consulting experience gained through hundreds of consulting engagements for Fortune 100 companies, thousands of hours as an instructor, and numerous leadership and entrepreneurial positions. Serge started his 30-year career in the field of enterprise quality management and is currently serving as the Operational Excellence Program Manager for the University of Washington's Medicine FPPS division. So without further ado, I'll pass the mic to Serge.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jeannie, for the introduction, and thank you for having me today in the Washington Lean conference and hosting me and UW Medicine and our division FPPS. So thank you for that. I'll start my sharing of my screen here so I can bring the presentation on. So just a couple things as we are getting started here. The first thing is please keep your phone handy as we will have some polls throughout the presentation, and those polls will require either a QR code or be able to text to a number. So instructions are going to be on those slides. And also a comment on the slide deck. So the deck was designed with dual purpose today. So you'll see a lot of information in the slides. And so for today, what I really ask you to do is to focus on the story, because that's what the deck is going to do today. It's going to guide us through our story at FPPS and lean implementation. And post-conference, for everyone that's interested in applying some of the concepts that we're going to be covering today, you'll have the deck with all the details post-conference as well. So today, please focus on the story. So let's get started. So first of all, introduction about our division of UW Medicine. We are the Faculty Practice Plan Services at the University of Washington. And so we're a group that serves our patients through the support of our physicians. So we support our physicians, and our physicians deliver on the vision and mission of UW Medicine, which is to improve the health of the public. Our vision for our group, FPPS, or Faculty Practice Plan Services, is through innovation and business excellence. And today's presentation is really going to focus on that business excellence part, but also collaboration with our UW Medicine partners to deliver accurate, timely, and cost-effective billing, collection, and other administrative services to our physicians. So again, we support our patient by supporting our physicians. So if we look at UW Medicine and FPPS and the physician, we support about 3,000 physicians and advanced healthcare practitioners. So we have a large population of practitioners that we support. And all our practitioners are also faculty at the School of Medicine for University of Washington. Our reach is quite broad, as you can see. We are licensed to provide our services through Washington, Wyoming, Alaska, Montana, and Idaho. And again, we provide services and we support those regions through our billing, coding, and administrative services. So that's just about us and what we do and the part we play at UW Medicine. Jeannie introduced me here, so Serge Alphonse, Operational Excellence Program Manager. So I won't go through too much of it. You probably hear a little bit of an accent. So I was born and raised in France and lived there until I was in my 20s, and then came over to the United States, Wisconsin, and then some Florida, where I received my degrees with a Master of Science in IT, Been a Six Sigma black belt for about almost 2 decades now. Serve as a lean sensei and also develop keen interest in other frameworks such as CMMI, COPC, also some mediation, a sort of certified mediator, and then ProSci for all our change management practitioners out there, ProSci certified, and on my spare time, sometimes piloting planes. Here you can see, so I've worked for the private industries, I worked for federal and local government as well, done a lot of engagements, but really I fell in love with quality management about 30 years ago by joining a company that was implementing enterprise quality management systems within the US and then US and expanded into Europe and worldwide company, Fortune 5. So I really fell in love with quality management, and that love still lives with me. Also have a deep appreciation for teaching, and so I spend thousands of hours as an instructor, and I'm happy to share today some of the learning. I'm a published lean author. You can see the book here, The Barn Door is Open, Frameworks and Tools for Success and Fulfillment in the Workplace. And that book has been actually adopted as a university textbooks as well. And I guest lecture at the University of Washington, talking about Lean and Six Sigma. I've been a Washingtonian for about 18 years, proud Washingtonian. I love this state, and I live just north of Seattle. All right, so enough about me. Let's go into what's going to hopefully add value to your day. The story of Lean for our group, FPPS, or Faculty Plant Practice Services. So the story started in 2016. So I was actually at UW Medicine working in a different division and had implemented Lean within a team of about 300 staff. The implementation was complete. We were huddling. We had our hurdle boards, our visual management systems, lots of PIs or process improvements. You hear me talk a lot about PIs. And then the PMO director of FPPS asked me to see if they could come and visit. And so we gave them a tour. And that person came back and said, we really want to do that with FPPS. And so we stayed in touch as a lean sensei. We stayed in touch. And that person developed a training, so it's push training, right? Classroom training that they deployed between 2016 and 2019, and really a bottom-up approach, right? So the PMO had that lean knowledge and started propagating the lean philosophy and the lean tools and the frameworks to the rest of the organization from a bottom-up approach. And then so between 2017 and 2020, we saw a slow adoption, right? Because you get on board groups by groups. But they did great. Daily huddles were taking place. Visual management boards, peppered the walls of 2 floors at the Columbia Tower, Columbia Center. The boards were well designed, improved the business, run the business. Metrics were listed. So the adoption was going great. And then 2020, the COVID pandemic hit. And the change, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that as well, the change was pretty drastic. Within a matter of weeks, all those 2 floors nearly emptied out, and people were sent home to work from home. So there was this big struggle, and that really put a dent into those personal daily huddles. People, needed to figure out how to work from home and keep the performance levels. And then the huddle boards froze solid. So when I was contacted back in July of 2023 and and I was asked to come and see if I could help re-energize the program after everybody went home. And so I had a chance to tour the facility, and I saw the boards frozen solid with steel writings on it from the 2020s. So really, there was a lot to do there to re-energize the lean program. And so what I saw is that we need to take on a multi-prong approach And that's what we're going to cover today. So what was that approach? What were the elements of it? So everybody can learn from our success and our challenges as well. All right. So first thing, I'm going to open this poll here, and I'm really curious to see who is sharing the same experience of having implemented Lean, going down the Lean journey, making good headways, and then COVID hit, and it put a big dent into that momentum. So not sharing at all, zero, answer A and answer D. Nearly all of our team followed the same path, and B and C in between. Wow, this is fabulous. So 70%. So 70%. So between C and D. So what we see is a lot of the teams are did not experience. A lot of teams experience that, right? So between almost 70%. To some extent, which is definitely a large majority. So let's see if I can share what we've done, to combat this work from home and the impact it had on Lean. So this is a framework of operational excellence or business excellence, as you saw in our mission. And for all our Six Sigma belts out there, green, yellow, black, or master black belts, this you will relate to this concept, right? Operational excellence is at the center, but it's really the big why, or it's the output. We know that we cannot act on output. We can only manipulate the inputs into those programs. So what you see on this slide is what we want, right? We want operational excellence, which will translate into all the tenets, right? The culture of continuous improvement. We want to up our Lean Six Sigma skills of our staff throughout the entire organization. And then we want more process improvement. We want better quality process improvements. And that's what we want. That's the output we desire. But we looked at, okay, what are the inputs that we control? And these are the 4 inputs that we focused on. So the first one was to motivate our staff. How can we re-energize our staff and put this new breath of fresh air into the Lean program? The second one was really the focus on training and revisited the way we train our staff, especially with staff now working from home. And then the third one was the mentorship. How can we connect with our staff that are remote on a regular basis? How can we build those channels? And then the final input that we focused on was the recognition and putting in place a recognition program. So in the next few slides, we're going to focus on that first part of that pie, the motivate, train, mentor, and recognize input, and see what we did, and hopefully you can have some good takeaway from it. All right, so if we look at train, when we look at the in July 2023, when I rejoined or joined, the training was the one that had been developed in 2016. It's a push training. It's 10.5 hours, 3 sessions of 3.5. It's called the Lean 100 series. It's really a great foundation training. It's once and done. And so it's really a great training for staff that are onboarded. But we conducted an A3 that taught us that some of our staff practice those A3s since their training a year, 2 years ago or more, and they retain information, and they're avid Lean practitioners. But a lot of our staff also took the training, didn't have a chance to practice the skills taught into those trainings, and forgot most of it. So the approach we took on the training, which is the input, right, to operational excellence, is to say, well, we say, okay, let's go with a hybrid model. And that's what the A3 that we conducted informed us, that we really wanted to keep that Lean 100 training as a foundation, because it's a really great training. But what we needed to do was to develop the refreshers, first of all, and then also the next levels of training, more lean tools, more good practices, more frameworks around Lean Six Sigma, statistics and some other fun stuff that we teach in Six Sigma. And so we developed this 200 level, and we turn it into a pool. So instead of having another classroom training and setting up new meetings and new training and taking time from our staff, we say, okay, let's build a catalog of those 200 plus modules. And those modules are 5 minutes. It's a concept. So we deliver a 5 minutes presentation. It's a video with some slides to illustrate those points, and then 10 minutes exercise. And those exercises can be tailored to each one of the teams that consume those modules. So now we have 15 modules that are very practical, that are adaptable to every single one of our team, because our teams, probably like your teams, do different work. One module may be good for one team, but might not add value to another team. And vice versa, right? Some other modules might be good for the second team, but not for the first team. So that's what we put in place, that hybrid push-pull training with a self-service catalog. And then where we are taking this hybrid push-pull training for the next phase is to build our operational excellence belt by bundling those modules that can be consumed. Again, these are videos, right? So it's not tied to a trainer. By bundling them think of DUMAIC or DFSS for the Lean Six Sigma, and applying them and having our employee staff applying them to projects, then the staff that are motivated, that want to advance their career, they are going to be embarked on those belts. Okay, so these are all the inputs on the training. And the outcome for the operational excellence, the desired output, is really to transfer the lean skills that add value and not the one that do not add value in those trainings. So those teams can choose. And also to boost the number of the number of process improvements and the quality of those process improvements or those PIs. And that's what we'll show. That's what we saw in the output. So that's great there. The second one, so we've seen train now. Let's look at the second input that we focused on, and this input is our mentoring. So we deployed a very simple mentor assignment model. So we know we didn't have the capacity, and I doubt any organization has the capacity of assigning a mentor to every staff. So we assigned a mentor. We have this group of mentors, our training and quality team, our PMOE, or project management office and excellence team. We have those very skilled mentors that have been teaching Lean for a long time, that have gone through dozens and dozens of A3s through the years. So they're extremely well versed in Lean, and they're passionate about Lean. And so we assigned a mentor to a supervisor, to a manager, and to a leader. So the ratio, and I'll talk about that in a minute, is about one mentor to about 5 to 6 supervisor or managers or leaders. So totally manageable, simple mentor assignment model. And we also develop a simple operational model on how to use those mentors. So here you see the light bulb with the brain in there. So PIIG pops in our mind. Maybe it's a daily Kaizen. It's something simple. Maybe it's A3, something a little more advanced, or maybe it's a rapid process improvement, or it could be a DUMAIC or a DFSS project if you have implemented Six Sigma. And so once that idea comes up, the staff has to go through, right, the approval. That's necessary. But really, we encourage our managers, our supervisors, our leaders to say yes as often as they can, right? So there's no barrier there. So it's usually, yep, that's a great idea. And the staff goes and logs that PI idea into our PI list or inventory, we call it one list. It's a very simple SharePoint, and I'll talk about that a bit later. It's very important to log, and you'll understand why in a few slides. And then once that the PI is logged, it takes only less than a minute. It's really quick. Then our staff starts working. Either if it's a daily Kaizen, they might do it quickly and it's implemented right away, right? Or maybe if it's an A3, that's when our staff and our managers tap on our mentor's shoulder and say, you know, I'm at the problem statement. We need some definition, or writing the problem statement. We need some help with that. Or I'm in the analysis phase. We're not sure which tool to use to find that those root causes. And that's when usually the mentors are pulled. So again, it's not a push, but a pull system where the teams only calls upon the mentor when the need is felt, okay? So simple mentor assignment model, simple operational model. And again, the outcome or the output on operational excellence, the desired output, is really that applying these two simple models anchors the operational excellence closest to the work, right? But not only that, it also creates that communication channel and those human-to-human relationship, and it's so important, especially as we are into this remote environment where we only see each other through screens. So this is really a key element of the mentorship program. So mentors act as coach, and as I said, you know, 1 to 6 is the ratio, and then also what we see is that cascading effect. So as we are upskilling with Lean and Six Sigma skills, our supervisors, our managers, our leaders, then they become mentors to their staff, right? So, and this is really the best way to deliver that training and change that culture and implement the Lean framework and philosophy through our organization. And then another side benefit is the sharing of PI, because our mentors have mentees in different parts of the organizations. So they might see a great process improvement that's bearing great results and be able to share that with some other teams and cross-pollinate those improvements. So again, simple mentor, assignment model, simple operation model, and a great output on operational excellence. All right, so we've seen train and mentor. Let's look at the motivate input. So if anyone in the audience that has been implementing Lean, I think will appreciate this graphic and slide here. So a lot of organizations, like in 2016, FPPS, our own, started from the bottom up, right? So it lives in the center of excellence or a PMO, you know, or some type of a team like that, and the knowledge is on board. Teams are onboarded to that knowledge one by one, right? And then there are some other organizations, the top-down. Virginia Mason is a famous one in the Lean world, where the leadership team has this vision. Maybe they experience, maybe they take a trip to Toyota in Japan, and they come back and they say, yes, this is great. Totally see the value, eliminating waste, reducing variation. It's great. We want to implement this system throughout the organization. And then they push down Lean from the top. And what we've learned is, and what I've learned through different serial implementation is, unless you have bottom up and top down bridged, if you don't do both at the same time, Lean will either fail and become like the flavor of the month, which is the worst thing that can happen to any program, or it will be this Swiss cheese where pockets of the organizations are Lean and then some others are not. So bridging up top down and bottom up is through accountability is paramount to success. So motivation, you know, this is how it ties to motivation. So motivation comes through accountability also. So accountability, we went to the leaders of the organization and asked them to set up targets and goals for a monthly basis. So each team has agreed to deliver a certain number of points, and points are earned by doing process improvements. And then just to make it more fun, we also started a game that we call the PI point game, where departments have this friendly competition on a month by month, and the departments that reaches or surpass the most their goal get a chance to go into this podium and be recognized. But it's not really about the game. The game is great and it's fun, and actually people are much more competitive than I thought. So that was really a great. It took off really well, nicely. But really, the key here is to have those metrics, monthly metrics, so we can measure even in a remote environment with remote staff. We can measure for each of the department or the teams how they are doing and see gaps in performance. And when we see gap in performance, that informs us on that input where we need to put our efforts. So some teams, to illustrate, some teams like that first one, Department A, they're small, they're new, lean, and they would decide to do 1 point a month. Department, the last one, the fourth department, is more robust. They have more staff. They can deliver more process improvements. They aim to get 6 points per month. And then our staff throughout the month, they complete and log their PI. Again, very important to log. You'll see more and more why it's so important. They log their PI, and this is how they earn points. So here we have A3s are 5 points because they're quite involved and they take some time. Projects such RPI, rapid process improvements, or other PIs that are structured differently than A3s. And then we have staff ideas, Kaizen buddy, reporting requests, and daily Kaizens earn less points, but they're a lot more frequent and easier to do. So this is how we motivated our staff. So establishing benchmark, accountability for top-down, and then the PI point game to make it fun and interactive and motivate our staff. All right, so we've seen train, mentor, motivate. Let's look at recognize or recognition. So recognition is, it really boils down to very couple key things to recognize individuals, mentors, and teams, and in front and not only directly to them, but expose, right, show that recognition through all the organization and in front of their peers. So we use all those different channels, and that might inspire you, inform you on what could be done within your organization. Monthly newsletters, we have 2 recognitions on a monthly basis. We held a monthly OE council where also we recognize staff with with our leadership teams, and then we encourage all our leaders and managers to cascade down, and supervisors to cascade down to staff at their team huddles, so they can truly recognize individuals or teams that are performing those PIs and leading by example, right? And providing and showing value to other staff and getting them on board the lean train, so to speak. We also encourage all of our supervisors, managers to add a topic on their standard agenda, huddle agenda, and it's the recognition topic, so it's always there, and they can do it on a daily or weekly basis. And the outcome, again, the desired outcome by manipulating the input, is to create this culture where, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this before, but where problems are treasures. So when we don't see the problems, and when they're hidden, that's when we have a real big problem. We want to see the problems. We want to encourage staff to raise their hand and say, we have a problem here, let's stop and fix it. The second thing we want to create with the recognition is this culture where blame has no place. So the focus is always on the problem. The focus is always on the process. never the person, right? There's no blaming. Blame leads nowhere for sure. And then a culture where we promote experimenting. Experimenting is superior to succeeding. Fail fast, fail often is a great saying. A fundamental research, that's what it does. It explores venues that leads nowhere or that fail, and that is okay. That's part of our culture here at FPPS. And then finally, creating that teamwork where multiple people reach out to other teams in conducting A3s, for example, where before, they might have seen some barrier around their department, but they receive input from other teams, and if defects are in those inputs, they need to work with those other teams to reduce those defects as well. So that's what we've seen. So we've seen train, mentor, motivate, and recognize. So these were the 4 inputs that we focused on as part of re-energizing the lean culture. All right, so that's what we saw, those 4 inputs here. All right, so what is in the next pie here, the piece of the pie? All right, so get your phone ready. I'm going to have a question for you. So here are our inputs: train, mentor, motivate, recognize. And then what we see is this cumulative count of PIs. So we know it's working. The number of PIs is incrementally nicely progressing. Big upkeep at first, low-hanging fruits. Now it's kind of more on the steady rise. And then also improvement on the culture. And I'll tell you more about how we capture that later. So the question for you is, how do we sustain over time? How do we sustain this virtual cycle of those inputs delivering the results that we desire in our operational excellence as the output? All right, so here is a poll. So this is a word cloud. So how do we sustain over time? What can we put in place to sustain over time? I'd be curious to see your ideas there. Metrics. Yes. All right, so lots of idea. Consistency, metrics. It's metrics. All right, I think we've got a count. So we have a small sample size here on purpose. Sampling systems, tell us that 25 answers will give us a good confidence on the data. Right. So checkpoint, metrics, and consistency. I think you're right on. So let's see what's in that slide. It's management metrics. You get it, right? So we know the inputs. We know we control that, but we need eyes to see how those inputs are affecting the output, right? So let's spend a little bit of time on metrics within the rest of this presentation. All right, so metric-wise, we have our staff, and they have those ideas, right? Some of them are small, as you can see, small light bulbs there. Daily Kaizens, for example, something that can be done within minutes, typically. And then some bigger ones, like A3s or RPIs. And then the key here, to be able to have those eyes into the impact that those inputs have, is really to have those PIs logged in. And I know there's a bit of resistance at first because it is seen as an overhead. So what we've done a couple iterations of capturing those PIs, and we've reduced the elements that we capture to a very bare minimum. I think we have seven fields to fill. So it can be done typically in less than a minute, right? So in less than 60 seconds, we have that metric information. And as soon as the PI is approved, so it's not completed, as soon as it's approved, then it goes into that one list inventory. What we also have, and it's a policy, is to compute, not at first, right? But as we go through the PI to capture how much time we spend, and then we look at the end of the PI, how much what is returned, either soft saving or hard saving, hard dollars. to the organization through those individual PIs, and then we add them up. So log in the PIs and compute the ROI. And then again, I can't say enough that if there are no logging of the PIs, there is no OE program, because we have no idea what happens to those inputs and how to make them better, if which ones are working well, which ones are not, right? So this is really key there. And what comes out are monthly dashboards, right? So again, I'm telling the story, so you don't have to read, each individually. But I'm going to spend some time on the next slide going through what we've learned about the different metrics that are informing us on our inputs. So we have our monthly dashboard, and these are, after several iterations, these are the dashboards that we use today. So I'll start just give you in a couple minutes an understanding of those dashboards. So the first two look at the volumes of PIs, and they're sliced either by PI type, so A3 versus daily Kaizen versus RPIs or project PIs. And the second one looks at the volumes of PI by month, by team. So we can see the teams, the progression. If some teams are stagnant, for example, or if some teams are having difficulty getting onboarded, we see that in the data. We also, the third one, actual PI process, we track overall the number of PIs that we've processed since the inception of the program. And then the next two are ROI, so the return on investment, because it's an investment. Investing in operational excellence, we invest in our trainers' time, in our mentors' time, in our staff time to do these process improvements, and we want to make sure that an investment has a positive and great return, which we see, in our data. So these are the two ROI metrics. The second column here, the top one, looks at the in process. So this one informs us of our backlog, or what's in the hopper, right? So if we have a healthy number of PIs that are in process, we know they're going to mature, just like a bond, they're going to mature in the coming month. And so we have a nice pipeline of PIs. So that's how we track that. And then the next four are really relate to PI points. So again, the point is not the game itself, but it's really to have those monthly benchmarks and objectives and goals for each one of our departments, and see if those goals are met, and if there are gaps in performances, how to build countermeasures to address them. And then finally, in the third column there, we have two graphs that informs us on the teams that are not onboarded on the lean train because they haven't seen the value yet, they don't have the desire. So we really need to work with them and encourage them and work with their management to bring them along to see the value and also deliver ROI to the organization. The little pie chart here also tells us the staff that are at the individual level, staffs that are engaged in PIs, and staff that have never been engaged in PI. And a great way to take those staff along the journey of the lean journey is really to start involving them even as an observer into a PI, an A3, for example. And at first they might just sit and just observe how the A3 is run. And then the second A3, they'll start participating. And so again, it's all in the spirit of encouraging and supporting our staff and bringing them along that lean path. And then the last one is a burn down chart, and that's how we monitor the overall objective of the OE program. So these are all the different metrics that we have in place. Okay, metrics, again, super important. So we also, and from a cultural standpoint, we also capture some other dimensions through two biannual surveys. So we have put in place one survey, one survey that's all hands, and that survey touches every staff, right? So it's deployed to an entire staff population. And then the second biannual survey is leaders, managers, supervisors, and leads. And so let's look at what we measure with those two surveys. So the first survey is the Lean Leadership Maturity Model. And again, I'm going to expect you to read all the fine print here, but you'll have it post conference. So on the very top row, what you see are the different level 1, 2, 3, 4. Level 1 is getting started. Level 4 is the North Star. It's the place where we want to be. And then on the first column, these are the dimensions that we measure for our leaders, right? So, and when we say leaders, it's our leadership team, it's our management team, it's our supervisors, and it's our leads, right? So everybody that's close to a staff that's delivering work, production level work, gets assessed through this survey. So we measure 4 dimensions. Lean leadership is the first one, and there we really looking for the. And I'm going to point to level 4 because this is not where we are today, but this is where we want to be. For lean leadership is really having the ability for our leaders to do daily Gemba, problem solve daily the problems that are within their organization or teams, and then recognize their staff on a daily basis. So that's where we want to be for lean leadership. And that's where we assess, where they are on that journey. Visibility is the second one. And this one is really to make sure that our teams are delivering what the voice of the customer is asking, right? So voice of the customer, what the customer would pay for, that we're totally aligned with that. Again, we're not there, but this is where we're aiming. Also, problems and goals are visible in that dimension. Standard work is the next one here. And this is really more about making sure that we have forecasts that are understood by everybody, that we follow those forecasts, that we meet those targets on a daily basis, our production metrics. And then when there are discrepancies or variances, that we do causal analysis and resolution. That's what we're after, standard work, as well as having our staff given the power, right, the empowerment to pull the undone cord, meaning to stop the production line, to say, I have a problem, we should, stop and fix it, rather than pushing it down to the next day. Again, this is where we want to go. And then finally, the continuous improvement dimension that we measure for our lean leaders is that we have time for problem solving. We have given the space to our staff as they go around the track and around the track, that if they see a puddle of mud on that track, that they stop and fix it. So next time they go around the track, that problem has been removed. So this is what we're aiming for. And then every 6 months, we have a snapshot of where all our leaders are along that journey. And we've seen some great progression. It's slow, but it's going in the right direction. The next survey, the second survey we do is our all hand, and we measure maturity and readiness. So again, I'll give some examples here. The surveys are based on ProSci ADKAR model, which is change management methodology, right? It's the framework. So ADKAR is a tool that really tells us that when we look at the people side of change, people go through a journey. And that journey starts with being aware of the change or the culture, and then developing a desire as the next step, getting into the knowledge part, developing an ability to be independent and confident with that skill or that change, and then comes in the reinforcement. So I won't go through too much here, all the examples, but it's basically a scale, right? Strongly agree to strongly disagree on top, and then we have some statements. I'll just pick one, the fourth one. I have a good grasp of Lean Six Sigma and apply my knowledge to at least 2 to 3 process improvement each month. So if we have a staff that says, yes, they strongly agree, we know they've traveled pretty far on that ADKAR journey, and they're definitely at the ability level. If somebody says that they are neutral or disagree, we know they are before that, maybe desire or knowledge. They have their awareness, but not the desire or knowledge. The other dimension we measure with all our staff is with this second questionnaire. And here it's really the readiness. How ready are our staff to practice what we teach them? So remember those lean inputs, those train and mentor, and motivate and recognition, how ready they are. So again, we have the scale on top, and then the readiness questions with some statements. I'll pick the fourth one again. I am confident that I can drive process improvement with my current Lean Six Sigma knowledge. If somebody says strongly agree, it definitely shows us that they have reached the ability level. And of course, if they strongly disagree, then we have more work to do with those, that person and probably those teams. Okay, so let's go back to our framework here. So we have just a couple minutes left here. So what's in that last pie here? So the question is, how do we continuously improve this model? So we have all our inputs. We measure the efficiency of those inputs via our management metrics, so we can have a better leverage on the operational excellence output. How do we continuously improve? All right, your turn to tell me what you think we should do to continuously improve this culture of operational excellence. Again, it's a word cloud, so we'll just wait for the few words to come in. How do we continuously improve this culture of operational excellence? Okay. This is always fascinating. So it's reward communication comes in big place there. All right. So okay. So let's stop here. So communication seems to be the winner here. Recognition. I saw a lot of. I saw some PDCA come in really early. I think that was great. So communication is performed through those inputs of recognition, right? Recognition, communication. It's all part of cascading down, the successes, cross-pollinating those PIs through our mentors, for example, or through our quarterly reviews and these kind of things. I think the first word that popped up was PDCA. And it really is the PDCA because we need to constantly evaluate the efficiency of the framework, the efficiency of all those different inputs. So how does it look? How do we put that in place? So we have our monthly dashboard. We have a bi-yearly self-assessment, which is more the cultural and the personal, the people side that we capture. And then so what we have those two bodies that are Operational Excellence Council, that looks at those metrics and measure the efficacy of those metrics, those inputs through the metrics, and also we have this training review board, which is composed of all of our mentors and trainers of Lean, and that composes our OE governance. Out of those two bodies comes out countermeasure plans, right? So when we need support in one area, or we need to beef up training or recognition, we need to do some things different, the countermeasure plans are developed, and that's really what informs our plan, do, check, and adjust PDCAS here. So that's what we have as far as the entire framework, and this is the complete framework and how we monitor it and make sure that we can improve it on a continuous basis, so we can deliver operational excellence with a culture of continuous improvement, upping our skills, and seeing more process improvement, more return for the organization. Okay, last poll, and then we'll save a few minutes for a Q&A. So again, we want to continuously improve our sharing of our Lean journey And what we've learned, if you can write in all caps what was most valuable in the presentation, and in small caps what was the less value add in the presentation. And I know there's also a survey at the end, and Jeannie will cover that in a minute. Give it another 10, 15 seconds. Okay, cool. All right, excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much for the feedback. And then, so this concludes the presentation. You'll have in the appendix as you download the slide decks. There's some slides that cover PI Point, the game, and it's got the rules if you want to implement that game. Be careful, people are very, very competitive. PI type definition is also given in appendix. There's some sample, some screenshot of the one list where we capture our PI, so you'll see the fields we capture. There is a screenshot of our ROI calculator, and we can provide the tool. If anybody's interested, put that into the comments, and we can load it with the presentation. And finally, in the appendix, you'll find the Lean 200 module catalog. So the list of the modules that we teach was 15 minutes module, 5 minutes content, 10 minutes training exercise. You'll see the catalog of our modules. And I'll turn it back to Jeannie.
Thank you so much for this presentation, Serge. I can tell it was really well received. We had over 700. We do have a couple of questions regarding the trainings, and maybe that comes into some of the resources that you said were available. But we have one question that asked, what does your push trainings look like? A general overview of the contents covered. And another question about how you created the 5-minute modules to train staff, such as coming up with the ideas, testing the material, incorporating feedback. Can you offer any more insight into that?
Sure. So the push training is really focused on lean. So the different waste is very strong emphasis on waste, and also the A3. So by the end of the 10 and a half hours, the trainees are equipped to running through their very first on A3, understanding the waste and understanding the different steps that an A3 covers. So that's for the A3. For the module, for the 15-minute module, the 5-minute module, so we didn't want it to be tied to a resource. So we did a video recording. So we use a tool called Snagit. We use Microsoft Team, kind of creatively, and then PowerPoint. And then we just record that 5-minute presentation of that concept. And then the teams, and then we provide some tools or some exercises or some example of exercises that the team can adopt, or they can develop their own. So those exercises are specific to every team.
Thank you very much. And everyone, don't forget to check out the slide deck and some of the additional resources towards the end of the slide deck that Serge offered. And Serge, I'm going to say definitively, we want the ROI calculator. A couple of questions come in about how you calculate ROI, and I know I would love it as well. So send that our way and we'll get it uploaded to the website. I want to thank you for this presentation. It was amazing. And I want to thank everybody who attended for this session. Thank you for engaging with us in the Lean conference. We're going to, again, just a reminder, have a very quick survey at the end of this session. Please take time to take it. I know Serge would love your feedback, and at Results Washington, we do use your feedback to continually improve the conference. I think this conference is one of the highest attended we've had So that's a testament to your feedback and continually helping us improve. And with that, I want to say thank you, and we'll see you all back here at 11 for our next session.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you.